Did you miss me? Back again for another Pint with JG. Today, finally, after 3 failed shoots, we're going to give you the ultimate answer to the ultimate interview question. So a while ago, we did a couple of episodes of the Pint with JG where we talked about how interviews are a two-way process. Remember, we talked about how everybody was effectively buying a revenue generation solution off each other, and then we talked about in another episode, I think down at Tapped, about how you've got to prepare and think about it like Dragon's Den. Today we're going to actually talk about the interview itself. What I'm finding at the moment in the market is a lot of people are walking into interviews and in many respects, they're trying to interview the client. And a lot of that is born of the fact that the market's good. There's a lot of jobs out there. And often when people are on the market, it's because they're not having a good time. So they're really trying to qualify whether a job is right for them or not. And what we're going to do is really just talk about that opening part of the interview. Because the challenge with interviewing the client is often it's the source of failure, often particularly when people have had a bad time of it. They go into the interview hell-bent on, in inverted commas, qualifying the interviewer. But actually there's only one real way to qualify an interviewer. And the only way to really qualify a job is to have the interviewer in such a position at the end of the interview that there's nothing they won't take the time to explain to you about the quality of that job by the time you finish with them. Whereas what often a lot of people do is they make the mistake of going in, ripping into the poor interviewer who sits there thinking, who is this guy? I'm not that interested. And often that's a subconscious feeling, and then the interviewer projects that subconscious negativity on the candidate who submits and feels that subconscious negativity, who then projects it back to the interviewer. And we get a lot of interviews where they're just flat. And that's more often than not because the candidate doesn't quite treat the interview like a selling situation. I don't know if you can hear, but Prince is playing on the hi-fi here doing 1999, one of my favourite ever tunes. Anyway, the ultimate question in an interview is this. The client sits down, he shuffles his papers, he looks at you and he says, so tell me a bit about you. What are you going to do? You're going to go through your CV from back to front to back, tell them about your personal life, tell them about your family. What are you going to do? So the first thing you need to do is prepare a 20 to 30 second elevator pitch. That's it, 20 to 30 second pitch about you. So when they say to you, tell me about you, you hit them with the pitch. How do you create an elevator pitch? Dead simple. You're going to write the key features and benefits of you on a piece of paper. For those of you who don't know what a feature and benefit is, look it up, because I know a lot of you don't. But sit down and think, if I was to buy me, and the best way to do this is to think, if you were going to make an action figure of me and put me in a box, in a toy shop, on a shelf, what would it say on the side of the box that made me worth buying? So, if for example, you've got a stable track record, you've only moved jobs 3 times in 24 years, one of your features is stable track record, only moved jobs in 3 times in 24 years, therefore the benefit is, tends to stick it out at jobs and is well respected by the companies he works for, as an example. So the first thing you do, elevator pitch. So the next thing you're going to do, and I'm going to please emphasize this, is gently take a little bit of control, not all of the control, but a little bit of control of the meeting. Can we put a little sign up that says gently right here? So it should go something like this. I'm Johnny Graham, I'm 47 years old, I've been in sales since I was 25, I wanted to be a rock and roll star, but this is the next best thing. I've had about 3 jobs since I left university, which is great for you to know. You know, I'm stable, I stick it out at things, I'm well respected at the companies I work for. I've got a very expensive wife, so it's great for you to know that I'm highly motivated to earn money. But I'm conscious I could sit here all day and tell you all about my career. What I'm wondering is if I could invite you to tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for in a candidate, and let's work out whether me and you can help each other today. So the next thing you're going to do is what I call a pre-close. Now I know a lot of this is going to feel very aggressive to a lot of you. It's going to feel a little bit like acting like a real salesperson, I know, but you've got to remember the context that we're operating in. Remember, in previous episodes we've talked about the importance of understanding that this is a very, very tactical sales process for a very complex, high-value procurement. But the guys that do well treat it like a very tactical selling situation. So with your pre-close, you then say to the client, okay, great. So before we start talking a little bit more about what you're looking for, what I'd like to suggest is that if we have a good meeting today, at the end of the meeting, I'm going to probably be asking you for a next stage. Is that okay with you? So that the interviewer knows that at the end of the interview, there is a close coming. Dusty on the hi-fi now. Brilliant. Anyway, at that point, just shut up and listen and make notes. Probe, listen, understand what the guy's looking for. Do a need find like you would do with a client on a client site, and then make a note about each key issue and cover it. And we'll talk about that bit in another session on another day when I've maybe had a bit of a rant and so on. It's not always going to go perfectly. They're not always going to let you sit there and listen whilst they tell you what their pains are. You know, they're human beings and not every interview goes that way. But there's an effect in sales. There's an effect in life. It's called the extrapolation effect. James Muir talked about it when we last had him on Book Club, about how people draw understandings and analogies of how you behave and then take them forward as to what you'll be like further into the future. If you treat the interview and demonstrate some basic but very high quality salesmanship in the course of that meeting, the worst case scenario is you've demonstrated to that guy or girl that you are at heart a sales pro, that you're in it to sell. That's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario is you're going to get control of the meeting and you're going to find out exactly what the guy's looking for, and you're going to get a boatload of information out of them. So that's me from, where are we, Lauren? We're in the Craft Asylum, which I really like. We didn't tell you we were in the Craft Asylum. We're in the Craft Asylum, which we really like. It is on Park Row. I don't think it's been here that long. Fabulous selection of beers, as you'll see in some of the B-roll. This week, we are with Bob Berg on Book Club, who wrote Go Give Us Sell More. Read it, join us. Don't miss me too much. I love you, goodbye.